because you stood with me.
We got you. Always.
That's right, man.
I ain't alone anymore.
You're not.
Hello. Good evening, family. Welcome to another episode of the Hearts of Men podcast. I am your host this evening, the son of Timothy, also known as the Available Man, and I am joined here with our coach, our big brother, Dr. Dwayne Dwyer, certified speaker and mindset coach. Oh, you got more in there. What?
It's fine. It's fine. Just kidding.
I was looking. I was like, "Oh, there's more in there. There's something else in there." Huh? I just went with what I know, right? My bad.
Yeah.
Man, but how you doing this evening, bro?
Hey, man, I'm good. As always, it's an honor to be here every Friday night to share in conversation with you, anybody who shows up, actually. And as always, we enjoy having conversation with the live chat and social media, man. So it's good. It's Friday. I have no complaints. How about you?
Man, I'm right there with you. I'm here with my big bro. Like you said, the livest chat in these here social media streets. All right. With that said, do a quick shout out. If you see names I don't see, help me out. But I see, of course, our sister, the rebirth of Nick D. Good evening, Crystal Everett. Good evening, Robin Bowers. Oh, Bauer, my bad. I put an S on your name. Yes, it's Maya. Lisa Keys. Good evening. His divine appointment. Adrian Artist. Anyone that's out there, but you're not in the chat, go ahead, get in the chat. We're glad to have you. Glad to see you out there. If there's anyone that I missed, charge it to my head, not my heart. But we are ready to get into, this conversation tonight. I don't know about anybody else, but I'm ready to go ahead and get started.
In the words of the infamous Tone Loc, let's do it.
Let's do it. All right. So listen, there comes a moment in every man's life where clarity is no longer the issue, where he knows what needs to change. He knows what God has been nudging him towards. He knows the habits that are killing his momentum. In the relationship that drains his purpose and discipline, he keeps postponing and pushing it off and kicking it down the road, right? But one thing I've learned is that clarity alone does not move a man, but decision does. Clarity is more of a mirror, right? Decision is the doorway. And too many men stand in front of the mirror, admiring a reflection of what they could be, while refusing to walk through the door that leads to who they must become. And so that's what we're going to tackle tonight: is how do we get past the mirror and actually start walking through the doors of opportunities that are there for us, but sometimes we don't do the work to get to the door, and then we don't walk through it once it's open for us. With that said, we can go ahead and pull it back. With that said, we are going to really get into this discussion about clarity. Clarity alone won't move you, right? So it is decision time. Before we get into the questions on paper real quick, let me ask you a question, bro. What is clarity? How would you define
it? Great question to start off with. I think clarity, regardless of what Webster says, Clarity is the ability to have untethered, unfiltered, un unhindered vision from one location to another. Whether it's in the destination of the thing that in the direction of the thing that I'm hoping for, whether it's in the direction of the thing that I call my purpose these days, it is the ability for me to see that clearly without anything standing in between and blocking my vision of it.
I love that. I love that. Clarity to me, it's everything that you said, but to me, the needle starts to move in clarity depending upon the thing you're seeking clarity of. I think for me, that was a point of clarity. It was a aha moment in life to when more things become started to become clear to me, and that was when I realized that hey, confusion is based upon the thing that I'm doing. I th- there's no broad paintbrush over clarity. I, I've gained clarity of how to, let's say, talking about podcasting, of how to present better while podcasting, of how to speak more clearly. But I'm still confused over here when it comes to parenting. And so clarity is that point or that moment that allows that allows understanding to flow freely uh concerning a thing. Um and
Well,
then
see, well,
you,
yeah, I got a question.
yes, sir.
I got a question because I want to make sure that as people are hearing what you say, I want to make sure it comes full circle.
Mm.
So you're saying that clarity is defined based upon what you're saying, it's defined based upon the thing that you're looking at. So I might be clear on what I'm supposed to be doing at work, but I may not necessarily be clear on what I'm supposed to be doing at home.
Yes, sir.
I'm processing because that actually makes sense. Um, but even in the analogy that I gave, I am clear that that person is confused. If they're crystal clear at work and they're vague at home, that is confusion, right? So even in it, and again, this is not me saying that you're wrong because what
Mhm.
you say make a lot of sense. But for me to have a good understanding of what I'm supposed to be doing at home, my job does not help that to come full circle. There may be some people at my job that can give me some great advice and things of that nature, but what is it that they're looking at in which they can give me that advice? That's why I say it. That's why I said it the way I said it. And again, I do believe what you're saying is accurate, but I also believe that within the scope of that, I think that reveals a lack of clarity sometimes as well. Because if we're telling men, and I'm just using this hypothetically, and women, this apply to you as well, so don't think we're excluding you. If we're telling men that you need to be clear on what manhood is according to how the Most High depicted, then that gives me clear instructions on how I'm supposed to behave, right?
Mhm.
Behave at work and behave at home. So now clarity comes from that distant aim point that I'm looking at, right? And everything under the umbrella of that clears itself up because I'm no longer confused. Just want to lay that out there. And again, I'm not saying that what you're saying is wrong. I agree with what you're saying because I do believe we feel a lot of time that I'm clear on the contents of this container, but I may not necessarily be clear on the contents of this container because it's jaded.
Yes. Yeah. I mean, and you hear it all too often. You ever go to a celebration or memorialize someone and you find like, man, they were a great boss, but their family suffered, you know, or vice versa. They're a great father, great mother, but at work you couldn't get nothing out of them. You know, I mean, and I'm just being
Right.
serious.
Right.
You know, and 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 it's like, man, he or she figured it out at home, but they ain't figured out up here at the workplace, and then vice versa. You're like, man, you hear the family talking. You're like, man, your mother, your father was a great person. They were a great subordinate, supervisor, whatever. But you listen to them talking, you're like, man, the children suffered at home.
Mm.
And I know this is a little left too, but the way the way you answer that question, I'm just kind of moving there a little. We're gonna get to get to
Sure.
the notes in a second.
Yeah.
But in defining a decision making the best way you can, why do you think some people get held up at the point of decision making in one aspect of life rather than the other?
I think the easy button answer is fear. Um, I think we can take the word fear and just do like a peanut butter spread across every scenario that exists out there. Um, but I think it's more than fear, and I think it goes deeper than fear. Um, we don't necessarily need to make decisions on the things that don't necessarily require a decision maker to make decisions. Therefore, now when it's time to make a decision, how good am I at analyzing complex problem sets? How good am I with creating different courses of action, analyzing those courses of action to see whether or not those courses of action is advantageous for the whole? So now when you look at the big picture, fear might be a response, but being able to define a problem clearly and come up with courses of action, and the courses of action actually become beneficial from for the whole, and then choosing that course of action and implementing that course of action and conducting risk assessments along the way as we're implementing that course of action. All of this is decision making. There are like 6 or 7 different decisions I just mentioned, right, in the midst of solving a complex problem, right? Or even a like a medium set problem. We have that ability to do so, but I do believe a lot of times we weren't necessarily taught how to do it. Therefore, when faced with it, we cower at doing it simply because at the end of the day, we don't feel equipped to make those decisions.
I like that. I was sitting here like I don't know if I can define the word any better. um, because I'm in 100% agreement with you. Um, that indecisiveness, I'm 100% right where you are. Especially if you know what the answer is. You know, hey, all I got to do is take this step. All I got to do, you know, I'm definitely right there in fear, and I think we're going to kind of talk about we're going to talk about how to combat it here a little bit later. But I'm right there with you. Can we bring up Robin's response? I think her is her answer to to this. So it is the state of seeing reality exactly as it is, free from distortion. I definitely would love to hear your add-ons to this.
So I agree somewhat, because if I take this and take it at face value, then this definition alone eliminates faith, right? And if I am a person of faith, that means that everything I believe in it because I see it, right? I can see it. I can clearly see what reality is telling me. I can see this at face value. This is Gatorade. It is what it is, right? But how does faith factor into this definition of um, this definition of clarity? And so I think you have to expound on it. Like I said, I don't disagree with this definition. I think this definition is the beginning of it. But now I can't just take a thing and say that it's being able to see reality, because faith tells me that what I believe is reality. Therefore, what I believe makes it possible for me to see. So now when I change that around, it's like, wait, so you're telling me that clarity is defined by faith to the believer? Absolutely.
And that's why when I was reading it, I was like, yes, and that's where I was at with the but was, but even the but, when you keep going further, you can still come to that point of saying, but it's still free from distortion. Like, because I'm like, am I ever, especially when you add in the spiritual side of it, am I ever free from distortion in this world? Because at some point I have to say, the completion of clarity is I took my eye off the thing and looked to the Father, right? Because that's what completed the process of clarity. So it's not that it was free from distortion, but because I knew where where my full clarity came from, I kind of went here. But then it's kind of like, but and still now it's free from,
Absolutely. And that's why I
so,
said it the way I said it. I'm not disagreeing with what she said. I think that's a portion of it. I think this is the training ground, right? You help young people see reality for what it is. They have to clearly see reality minus the emotion. And then whatever the emotion is, that emotion needs to tell you something. And then you analyze that. And now it helps you to understand why you feel the way you feel about reality. Moving forward, now, what does that look like for the mature man? Well, the mature man does not say seeing is believing. The mature man says believing is seeing. So I am going to believe it until I see it, and I'm going to move like it's already in existence. So now that now defines faith for the mature man.
man, let's get into these notes before we get there. Got to work backwards
My bad.
because no, it ain't on you. It's just like when I tell you I like this conversation because it's so packed. It's just the title in of itself is so compact. Breaking that down can be a discussion of itself. Um, but the first talking point I want to talk about is clarity without commitment is just information. Um, so I'll say a man knows exactly what he needs to do most time, right? To change habits, cut distraction, pursue discipline, but clarity does not create momentum. You know, this is why many men stay almost ready for years, but never actually take the steps forward to action. So my question here, un, under the thought that clarity reveals the path, right? What do you believe are some factors that play a part in the reason a lot of men fall into stagnation? And I know we already talked about one of them, but if there's more to add.
Well, I think I will start off by saying that my eyes aren't fixed on any one particular thing. I'm looking over here. I'm looking over here. I'm comparing myself to these people. I want to make $1 million in 5 weeks. I want to, have a great family, but I don't even have a girlfriend. Like all of these things are happening in this person's mind. So the confusion that this person is experiencing is based on their inability to focus on one thing, and that one thing becomes the governing body on the way that they behave themselves and do everything moving forward. I have to start there simply because if I don't look at it from that perspective now, what am I clear about? Am I clear about wanting to have a good job that pays me a lot of money? Am I clear about wanting to have a great family? Well, look, I'm not trying to be funny, but if you pay close attention to how the job market is, the more money you make, the more time they're going to require of you. In fact, that's why you make more money so they can require more of your time. And then you feel compelled to give them more of your time. Well, guess who suffers in the midst of that? The people that you say you know, love, and care about. Those people are going to suffer because of your absence. And it's not only your absence from a physical standpoint, but it's also your absence from a mental standpoint as well. Because when you get home, you're automatically thinking about the things you got to do tomorrow. You're going to spend a part of your evening getting ready for go to work. You're going to do all these things and preparing for the next day. So now it becomes a disjointed, relationship and different. What we like to use the term balance, and that's a whole different thing as well. So the main factor is the thing that you're paying attention to. If I'm paying it, like if I want to be a top tier podcaster, well, I need to pay attention to the goals that I have established to turn myself into a top tier podcaster, not paying attention to what somebody else got going on because what somebody else got going on is according to their goals. So then there's the thing that you're paying attention to. I think the other part, and like you see, we talked about this previously, is the decisions that we make pertaining to the things that we're paying attention to. So again, even if I am laser focused and my mind is fixed on one thing and one thing alone, every time I make a decision that don't coincide with the thing that I'm looking at, that shows that I'm not necessarily committed to the thing as much as I think that I am. I'm telling you I'm committed to it, but my behavior is not consistent with that level of commitment. So every decision that I make outside of the path, it sets me back in time, or it stagnates me in time. So I could have been up here, but I'm not up here. I'm back here because I failed to make the necessary decision when I had the opportunity to make that decision. Third one, and I'm gonna stop there because I don't want to keep going. Third one, and I think this is one of the biggest one. We surround ourselves with people who don't have the intestinal fortitude to tell us that we're stagnant. I'll say it again. We surround ourselves with people who don't have the intestinal fortitude to tell us that we're stagnant. I will surround myself with a person that makes me feel good. It's okay. It'll be all right. Everybody, goes through that period in time. But when are you going to surround yourself with people that's going to be honest with you and tell you the truth? It's not that those things aren't true, but that may not necessarily be what I need to hear. I need to hear that, hey man, look, these are the goals that you said you wanted. These are the goals that you established. But every time I turn around, man, you sit behind the team, sitting behind the TV, looking at the World Cup, cheering on Argentina. Know they're playing Cabo Verde right now. You know what I'm saying? What are you doing? They're already in the World Cup. That's the Super Bowl of their profession, at least one of them. When are you going to work your way to get to their level in your field? So those are the three things I want to point out because I think it's true. What you're looking at, as opposed to how many different things you're looking at, your ability to make the decisions based upon what you're looking at, and the people that you surround yourselves with. I think all of those things are key factors.
I love that. You kind of brought a question into my mind. So question, can I have, because I labeled this part of the discussion, clarity without commitment is just information. But could it be that we have information and still not have clarity? Or I could have the information, but not enough information to make a sound decision.
My easy answer to that is yes to both. But oh my God, this you are in a conversation I had earlier this week. Okay. If I'm giving you a block of instructions, this is for everybody who is listening, by the way. If I am giving you a block of instructions, you hear us come on here every Friday night and you hear some things that's coming out of myself, coming out of Brother Gaddy, coming out of Garfield, whoever, right? And a lot of the things that we're giving you some steps. We're giving you some great information. But here's the problem. The problem is not you guys, right? But here's the problem. The problem is that information, not only was it good information, but it's available information. Just because you heard it this time made you aware that that information is available to you. But here's the interesting part about it. Information by itself never changed anything. I'll say that one more time. It's not by happenstance that we're living in the information age, by the way. Information by itself does not change anything. It just makes you aware that change is possible. Pay attention. You go to school, the instructor is instructing. You don't stop the instructor and say, hey, could you back up? Give me steps 2, 3, and 2 and 3 again, because I think I missed something. No. You sit there and listen to the instructions until they're finished. Then you do a practical exercise according to those instructions. So here's the reality of the truth. You got the information. You'll get the step. But here's the reality of it. You have to become the person that makes that information work for you. Until you become, like, the Bible doesn't mix words. The Bible is full of information. But it's clear and obvious. The Bible says, be ye not. It's not talking about deeds. It's talking about you, who you are, who you become. So you have to become okay, let me say it like this. There's only one answer to every problem that everybody experienced. I know it doesn't sound good to hear it, but these are the answers that the world don't want to give you because they want to keep putting Band-Aid on a sore, right? There's only one problem that that everybody's experiencing. And that problem is that you're not the person who can actually achieve the thing that you want to achieve yet. Once you become that person, because you believe in what you're trying to do, then you will leave your current state and go to where it is that you're supposed to be in order to do it. So when you look at the things that we haven't achieved, you look at the decisions that we haven't made, it's not because you failed to do it. It's simply because you're not the person to do it yet. That's okay. There's a lot of people who are stuck there. So focus on becoming that person who can do the thing, and don't always look for the step-by-step instruction to do it, because the step-by-step instruction doesn't change you. Knoweth now what thou readeth? How can I, lest someone teach me? A lot of us don't want to be taught. We just want the instructions for ourselves so we can do it. But that just gives you permission to say, not today. Come on, I get to it tomorrow. That's why that's why the law of sacrifice is so important. If you don't have no skin in the game, then you ain't gonna play in the game. Okay, I'm gonna stop right there because I went a little too far. My bad.
Nah, you in it because you kind of started touching in a little bit to the leadership mindset a little bit too as well, because we've all had those leaders that had all the book smarts in the world, all the education you can get, but they couldn't lead their way out of a wet paper bag, but I think sometimes we equate information into adequacy. You might have a degree, but some people, listen, I've run into therapists, so I was like, yeah, you can't therapize me. I know that ain't a word, but I just made it up. But you can't therapize me. You ain't got no people skills. You ain't got no interpersonal skills. And depending on the type of person that you're dealing with, I need to see that I can trust you before I could talk to you. Now, that just might be son of Timothy when he goes sits down, but I don't know too many men that's just gonna open up to anybody, So you got the information, but the know-how, you getting in your own way, and so I think there's that difference, and I like how you kind of shine that light, like, but yes, that A, B, C, D, and E is a process, but sometimes it's not as simple as just figure which one out you're gonna do. There's more to the process of actually taking action. And when we don't actually get our mind into that space, I think that's where the problem comes in. Yes, I know. I'm glad you know everything. You ever know? I tell people all the time, especially dealing with customer service, I'm the guy. I call myself a little fun facts, because I got fun facts about a lot of things. I done read and seen a lot of random information about a lot of things, and it's not always random, because it comes up sometimes when I'm in discussions, and it's good to use sometimes. But all that information mean what? I learned these things about like different cultures in West Africa, and I went and studied certain tribes and stuff like that. That's cool, but I can't just pop up in Africa and pretend like I belong there because I did some research. My bad.
Man, get out of here. We don't even know who you are. Go somewhere.
Right. But I'm just saying. I digress. You if I stop on everything that you be saying some stuff there, man. You gave a lot of gems. But my next question in this part, under decisions activates the path, right? The question is, why is it hard for some people to take the first step in their success journey?
Before I give this answer, listen, I want to thank everybody for joining us today. Make sure that you hit that like button. Make sure that you share. And again, welcome. Good to see everybody. Why is it hard for some people to take the first step in their success journey? Because they don't see what's behind door number one. I think we believe that I have to have a degree of certainty of what's going to happen. I need to know that it's going to be comfortable for me. I need to feel equipped before I do the thing. in order to do the thing. Like, I like the fact that you brought up, the fact that, people out here got degrees and they're doing certain things and so forth and so on. But make no mistake about it, he's right. It's a lot of therapists out there that need therapy. They're doing a job. They're not the person that actually, they're the only thing they're doing is asking scripted questions that they already have. They're not in it to bridge the gap for the individual so that the individual can come up with their own solution. That's really what it should be. They're just going line by line, step by step. It's just like calling and you get a calling your cable service or your cell phone service. You ain't talking to them. You're talking to some people that they hired that's over there in the Philippines or something that nature answering the phone. Not a bad system, but you're not getting, the true authentic nature from the person who knows it. They're reading the script. The exact same thing. We want that level of comfort. I want to know that if I do this, then this is what I'm guaranteed to get. No. Here's the issue. You know what you're guaranteed to get? You're guaranteed to get the results of who you are. So you might as well take the first step anyway, because you're going to get those results regardless of even if you don't take the step. You're just going to get worse results, the same results you got yesterday. So I think the first thing that I say here, the reason why it's so hard for some people to take the first step is because they need a level of comfort. They need to know, they need a guarantee. It's almost like they want you to go on the other side and like, come on, Lord, if that's you, beckon me to come on. That's what they want. They want that level of comfort to get off the couch and take one step forward in their own future. That's the funny part about it. This is your life we're talking about, by the way. Like, why do I have to convince you to take a step forward in your own life? At some point, you have to get tired of seeing the same thing over and over again. At some point, you got to say, you know what? Who's it, Mystical? I'm sick and tired of being sick and tired. At some point, you have to be that and say, you know what? I'm going to do it afraid. There's nothing wrong with being afraid. It's only wrong when afraid makes you stay and do absolutely nothing. It makes you stay where you are. You are so fearful that you have gotten to the point to where you don't want to do anything different because you're comfortable in the comfort that you created for yourself, but yet you still complain about it.
The coach is coming with them haymakers tonight. I'm with you on this one. Let's before I give my response, let's jump into this chat. They are on it. Let's see. What do we have? Yes, let's start with Atlas Keys to Keys Realty. She says no, and this was her response to one of the questions, I believe. She said, no understanding, lack of vision, therefore one can't see their way forward. Lack of comprehension and identity could be factors. And then I think she gave something else to finish it, I thought. Excuse me. But this was I believe in her response to the question. I asked, like, what are some factors that keep people from making decisions as we push forward. What say you, Doc?
Oh, I don't disagree with anything she's saying there. I think all of those are factors in there as well.
Absolutely. Adrian Thomas said the process changes you. It's a reason why folks who are successful say trust the process. Absolutely. I really like that one. Folks want reassurance and a guarantee that step will lead to something greater, but there are no guarantees that you will be successful. That is something I think when we hear people say don't be afraid of failure, I think that's something that I think we miss. And not only that there's no guarantees, but there's lesson learned in those failures. Especially if you just started. We always want to be successful so fast. We want to learn everything tomorrow. I think this is even it even happens on social media. That's why some of these, DIY pages are so popular because everybody wants to learn the quick way, real quick. You know, I think we talked about it a few episodes ago. Like, we don't have apprenticeships no more. Nobody's actually becoming a master of their craft. Everything is DIY, do it yourself, learn it now. 3-step programs.
You know, to your point, like I'm agreeing with you. Um, I think one of the issues there is that we invest in the wrong things. We will invest in the tools to do a thing, but we won't invest in the user that's going to use the tool. So it's almost like, and I can't, I can't say this any plainer. It's like me in my own understanding. I'm going to get a tool using your example of DIY. And let's just say I'm gonna drop a transmission. I'm gonna use that for you fellas out there who handyman. I'm not that guy. I'm just gonna tell you the truth. I'm going to the shop. I go get the tools that I need to drop the transmission. But there are certain ways that I have to position myself in certain areas that I need to be in to get to certain bolts in a particular way that actually makes it easier for me to drop it. Now, I don't even know if that's accurate, but I'm just saying. But I do know that that part is true. So having the tool is an added asset, but having the mindset of a skilled craftsman is the best investment that you can make. The tool should come after the investment to have the mind of the skilled crafter, right? So now it kind of gives credence to the fact that the best investment that you'll ever make is the investment in yourself. Why? Because now you have the mindset before you get the tool set. If you get the mindset prior to getting the tool set, then there's no wasted time when it comes down to using the tool. If I don't get the mindset, but I get the tool set, I am just going to keep using the tool and messing it up. And then I'm gonna have to call somebody and say, hey, Gaddy, can you come over here, man? I dropped this transmission. It's on my leg, man. Hurry up and get here, bro. You know what I'm saying? Stuff like that. So it's like, but if I had the mindset first before getting the tool set, now it's like mindset, activate, tool set, let's get to work. And we jobbing. We getting after it. I think the same thing applies in every aspect of life. It's not just, the transmission analogy. It's everything. It's the relationship analogy. It's the workspace analogy. It is, the financial, like it's across the board. What we want is people who give those false guarantees. Hey, sign up with me. You'll be making $10,000 next week. No, you won't. No, you won't. No, you won't. If you fell victim to that, that's okay. We love you still. But you won't. You wanna know why? Because you're still the same person. Only thing you're doing is trying to implement the steps that they're giving you. They already know that. You think they don't know that? So guess what the next is? Guess what the next thing is? I'm gonna need you to come to my mastermind so we can give you the minds. Right. And that's gonna cost more than the tool. The tool is just something that you're gonna have to pay for every month. This thing right here, starting here, this thing right here is the most powerful investment that you'll ever make. And some people are just too deathly afraid to make that investment.
Man, you talking. You talking. Adrian in the chat talking.
That's my man right there.
And this brother said, he said, agreed. Failure is a part of the process. One thing that's overlooked is sweat equity. Boy, if he ain't never lied. You have to invest in time to get where you want to go. That's that old mantra that we hear all the time. Trust the process. That's that old mantra. Trust the process. Because listen, ain't nothing like sweat. I look back over my life right now. The things that I know. Oh, I got some. There's some blood stains still left on the curb by my training grounds because we had to put the we know we learned a lot of lessons even in the military. We learned a lot of lessons in them late nights, and you learned a lot about you even learned a lot about your soldiers, the ones that you got to lead, your subordinates.
Absolutely.
That you got to lead, and when y'all down there getting in the mud and getting dirty, this all. I think a lot of us shy away from the hard work of things.
Mm.
Therefore, we miss a lot of the major lessons. I think the problem is a lot of us fast forward. When I'm looking at how to drop that transmission, I'm skipping and fast forward into the parts that I feel like I have past the parts I feel like I've already figured out.
Yep.
I don't need that part. I don't need that part. I don't need that part. And you don't turn a wrench. How you gonna tell the guy on the camera that do this for a living that you don't need that part? He gave it to you for a reason. And we not do that with the scriptures too?
Mm-hmm.
We don't have a lot of it. Let's just be honest. This is really what our critique has been these last few years, right? When we're talking about folks that say they believe, half the problem is we like, hey, they're not putting that sweat equity in. I saw somebody put a post up, and it was so accurate. She went to John 3:16. She said the way we read the scriptures. We saw she highlighted for God so loved the world, and then blacked out everything else. It's like you said that's the focal point of everything. But how do you know if we're not actually reading and digging into the rest of it?
Mm-hmm.
You know, and we don't really put the sweat equity into it. So how do you know you really know what that means? He left the comment right there. I can.
That's what Adrian does, man. When that brother shows up, he shows up with the goodness.
Yeah, man. Ooh, let's move forward. Let's get into the next. And we can go forward to the next discussion. Next discussion point, which is decision is the first act of leadership over yourself. Over yourself. I love that, right? So before a man can lead a home, a community, or walk into a calling, he must lead himself first. Decision is self-leadership in motion. We have to start being able to make decisions. So my first point here is that decisions help break cycles. What do you believe are some cycles, especially as men, some cycles that most people repeat due to indecisiveness?
I mean, I really hate to sound like a broken record here, right? But I think one of the cycles that we have to break is being comfortable with who I know myself to be right now. See, we got to understand, like, we're talking indecisiveness in this particular moment, which means I'm not committed. That's all. That is all indecisiveness mean. It means that you're not committed. So if we go to the root of it, to decide means to cut off all other options. So if I'm indecisive, that means I have options. And in some instances, you have way too many options, and you don't know which one to choose. I mean, I hate to say that that's one of the reasons, one of the confusing points out there right now. But different. How many different LGBTQIA plus? Okay, I'm just saying, indecisive is we can't choose which one. Who you gonna be today? I don't know. It doesn't matter. I'm joking.
Too many options.
Way too many. I'm joking, but I'm not joking. Anything that gives you multiple decisions, give you multiple things to choose from, is done to create confusion. So the first one of the things that I really do believe, and again, I know I sound like a broken record when I say this, is that I believe most people repeat the notion, the idea of being indecisive because they're more comfortable with being who they know themselves to be right now, as opposed to becoming the person that they were destined to be. See, when you decide to become the person that you're destined to be, then the things that confused you prior to will not confuse you anymore. In fact, it becomes more clear when someone asks you to do a thing. Hey, do you want to go to the opera? No, I'm good. That's a quick and easy decision for me. I'm not that person to go to the opera. And that's not me saying that operas are bad. It's just not something that I want to do. It's not something that I'm going to do. I say it that way, right? So when we look at finding comfort in who you are right now, which the world teaches to no end, the only reason they're teaching that is because they want you to stay exactly where you are because they like the fact that you're confused. So here's the deal. Go against the grain. Make a commitment to yourself. Decide today that you're going to become the individual that the Most High created you to be. And there is no other path for you. And I think just by making that decision and committing to that, you start cutting off other options. You start decreasing your probability of being indecisive when it comes down to certain things. And I think that's for me, I think that's for starters. Because I think I would have loved to heard that when I was 20 years old. Stop looking to the left, stop looking to the right. Look straight forward so that you can discover who you were created to be. And then be on the path to that person without question, without hesitation, with forward momentum.
Man, you let it almost ain't nothing left in that sponge to squeeze out, you know. Now, because you're making a real point. I think when I think of indecisiveness, right? When we think of cycles, I start thinking about those people who suffer from the same symptoms in relationships after relationships, right? Here's the thing: if you keep running into manipulative men or women, manipulators know who they can manipulate. Maybe there's a reason why you a target. When you say I attract manipulative people, maybe you're a target for manipulative people because one of the things they thrive on is the fact that you have indecisive behavior. They see that pattern, and because you're indecisive, they can now begin to manipulate your, or even in some passive aggressive scenarios, right? They People learn how to navigate around that and how to manipulate your behavior and your decision making, or apply pressure to make you make a quick decision. Like this is how a lot of us get duped when you are indecisive or uncommitted, right? Because I do agree there. I do also see where you can be indecisive and not, you know, maybe I wouldn't label it as not committed, but it's still that. But I think that's where a lot of those cycles begin, is specifically because of this right here. And so you become easily influenced to do nothing, or when you get that what we call it now, when we get too many options, overstimulated, right? It just means there's too many options and I don't know what to do, so I can't make a decision. I need everybody to shut up. That's what I hear when I hear a lot of people use that term, but that's just me, right? But maybe it's not the overstimulated. Maybe it's the fact that you can't make a decision. And so I always ask that question when I get into a place of where I'm indecisive. My question to myself is, what do I stand on when it comes to this thing? Because maybe the problem is I don't stand on nothing, and so therefore it's shaky ground. The wind is blowing and I'm shaking and I can't make a decision. Maybe the problem. I always believe the problem starts in the mirror, but maybe the problem is me.
Well, being indecisive by itself is a decision, right? And I'm saying it this way because let's be honest. If I can't decide, use old trusty Gatorade bottle. If I can't decide whether I'm going to buy the Gatorade bottle, I just made a decision not to make it. I literally just made a decision not to buy it. So, although indecisiveness means that I'm not committed to one thing or the other, therefore making a decision is harder for me. And so, if I hide behind the fact that making a decision is harder to me because I don't have a level of commitment in a direction of the way I should be going, train them up in the ways that they should go. I haven't made a decision in the way that I should be going. Therefore, now when certain things come up, I can't make a decision. I'm indecisive. But that means I'm not committed to a path. And because I'm not committed to a path, now it's like, I don't know. I don't know. Let me see. Let me pray on it. You want to pray on buying a bottle of Gatorade? Right then. Yeah, you're right. You're right. You know what I'm saying? It's like, but that's what we do. Come on, man. You laugh, you know it's true. That's what we do. Let me pray on it. Let you pray about a bottle of Gatorade. Oh, let me, I don't know about this growth thing. Let me pray on that. I don't need to pray on it when it gives me instructions to do it. Like it doesn't. Listen, I get it. I understand. Like I love the analogy about what you just mentioned about manipulators, right? Because we live in a world to where the victim is celebrated. Now, I want to make sure that I'm clear what I'm saying is there are certain people who have been victimized. I get it. And I'm not saying that, it's that person's fault. Not at all. Not even remotely close. I do not remove responsibility from this rightful place. However, when you hear these terms that people are using, and they themselves are not necessarily qualified to use them terms, therefore they're just using those terms because it's like the latest, greatest words to be using, then you really got to listen close to what they're saying. Because I'm telling you, if one more person come to me and call somebody else a narcissist, I'm gonna call them an idolater. I'm just sorry. Facts are
My bad.
facts.
I wasn't muted. My bad.
Facts are facts. I'm sorry. For a narcissist to exist in a place, an idolater has to be present. And if we understand what that really means, then we'll stop just pinning names on other people and do like Gad is saying, look in the mirror. What role did I play in any of this? Now, again, I'm not talking about people who were victimized, physical abuse, things of that nature, mental abuse, emotional abuse. I'm not talking about that, right? Those are clear-cut cases and things of that nature. But if you're talking about a person who desires to be worshiped, you've been doing some worshiping. So what happened that you got to the point to where now that person is a narcissist? It didn't work in your favor no more? I'm just trying to figure it out. I wanted to make sense. So it's like you have to listen closely and do the math. You listen to what they say, sure. Listen to what you say as well, right? But make sure that you're doing the math so that you can have a clear understanding of all of this. Because like when it comes down to it, if we do not, then the same thing that I'm doing against somebody else becomes another excuse that I use when I go to a different arena. So over here, this person's a narcissist. Over here, the man is trying to hold me down. Over here, oh, well, they just, I was overqualified for the job. Really? Seriously, that's what you're going to go with? You're going to go with you was overqualified? Okay, cool. I got that. But if you was overqualified, why'd you apply for the job? I mean, and that's not to say that overqualified people don't apply for jobs that they know that won't require a lot of their times. There's absolutely nothing wrong with that. I don't want to commit to a job that's going to take up 15, 16 hours of my day. So let me apply for a lesser job so that I can go in there and, just do the job and go home. That's all I want to do. There are some people in locations, in job locations, that they're there to do a job. They don't want to climb the corporate ladder. I'm here just to do what I need to do and go home. Perfect.
No, man, you in there. you made me laugh at that one point, but facts. Yeah, I think, man. Now you that's a whole nother rabbit hole. I was about to go down there. You didn't take it there. You just left the door open to that hole, and I almost took the bait. Almost deep dove. But
Somebody gonna put in the comment section after the show's over there. That's a lie. That's a lie. I get it. I understand how you feel.
I mean, listen. There's only two reasons since we there. I'm not gonna jump down that rabbit hole. I'm just gonna put my feet in there a little bit and pretend like I'm gonna go down. But here's the problem. There's only two reasons why you got so angry that you started calling that person out their name. One, because you idolized them, or two, you went into a relationship you wasn't ready to be committed into in the first place. And so now you're mad because that other person is forcing you to be accountable in a relationship you never did. Because that same action that you're talking about, I think a lot of people go into relationships that they know they thought they were overqualified for. And I say thought because either you didn't listen to the expectations of the other person, or not even expectations. You didn't listen in the getting to know each other stage because you thought this was going to be an effortless relationship. I was going to get what I wanted, and I was going to be required to give anything back. Not so, But that's a whole nother. I wasn't going to go deep down that hole. But that's a whole nother direction.
Let's say that for Sunday.
Right. Man. because we still got some good stuff. Let's go and we get into into these highlights. Can we get the second highlight? His divines. She's the cycle of repeating the same mistake because it's familiar and comfortable.
Mm, mm, mm,
Same thing I said when I read it. Yeah. And here's the thing: this doesn't even need commentary. It's just plain and simple.
But it becomes habitual.
Right. It's that place. And here's why I like this one so much, because I'm trying to figure out what is that wall that most of us keep hitting that goes, because when you're gaining the information, that is a part of the process, right? You have to get the information, you're gaining whatever type of intel you can before you move into battle, right? But I think that's that wall right here. We get right here, and it's like, if I take this step, here's the problem. I think this is the problem a lot of people face. Because I always talk about those people who are afraid of success, right? I think this is that wall. She brought it up. This is that moment that if you make this decision, nothing's going to look the same again. But it's supposed to be like that. It is supposed to be different because you made a decision that is supposed to change and have a positive effect on your life. That's what's supposed to happen. When you get successful, things do not look the same any longer. It just is what it is.
No. You get. Because I wonder, and I know we talk about, fear of failure versus fear of success, right? I wonder, is those terms accurate depiction of it, right? Do we really have a fear of failure, or do we really have a fear of how failure makes me feel if I don't achieve what it is I'm trying to do? Do I really have a fear of success, or do I have a fear of the responsibility that success brings? Because I think a lot of times that's really what it is, especially the fear of success, probably more so than my depiction of the fear of failure. I think you want the wares that come along with success. You just don't want the responsibility that success requires. You don't want the extra, and you hear people talking about it, right? They work long hours to get to where they are. It took a lot of blood, sweat, and tears to get here. And, there is a social responsibility that is incumbent with a level of success that for whatever reason now everybody seems to they want to denounce that as being a reality of it. So I often sit and I think about that fear of success. Why would a person fear success? Well, because of, in my mind, responsibility. Going back to the whole relationship thing, right? Why is it that after the relationship, this person got this nasty name? Oh, because you thought you was just going to jump on the boat and just sit in the boat and ride all the way to the desert island. You didn't think you was going to have to row at all. Oh, but that cat was focused. That cat was rowing. That cat said, "You can come row with me, but you just want to ride." Oh, well, that brother probably stopped someplace in the middle of the ocean. Like, get off, get to swimming. You know what I'm saying? I'm saying this jokingly, right? And again, this goes both ways. It's not just men and it's not the man kicking the woman off the boat. Women kick men off the boats as well. But it's a whole nother conversation, right? I think a lot of these things come into place, and then certain people dictate to us how the reality of it must look. Therefore, when it doesn't work out the way I thought it was supposed to look out, then I get to create the narrative, and that narrative is consistent with the narrative that already exists. And you're the only person telling the story.
That's good. That's good. We'll grab one more and we're gonna move on. Let's grab Adrian Thomas's last one in the highlighted. Yeah. indecision is the greatest cause of failure and stagnation than making the wrong decision. That's the whole point right there, this whole segment. That's the whole point right there. The fact that you make no decision, we think is saving us. It ain't saving you. It's, in fact, it's the reason why you feel like you're in. That's the cycle itself. Indecision is the cycle. The reason why you feel like there's no way out, you can't dig yourself out of this mud, is because you keep getting to places where you have to make a decision and you don't. And you thinking that you're staying stuck. You're not staying stuck, you're getting more stuck. And this is why it's harder to dig yourself out the next go round, because you made no decision. That makes it worse. Now you can't find the people to help you get to that point that you were before last time, because they got tired of doing all that work for you to do nothing with it. They got tired of helping you. You know that guy, and see, and I skipped that question in the first segment, but you know that guy that tried to start 13 different companies, and what we say about him, man, he's ambitious. One day he gonna make it. One day, listen, the problem ain't that he don't know how to make it. The reason why he keep trying things because he keeps finding the blueprint to stuff, but he never makes a decision to actually pull a trigger so we can start moving forward.
Mhm.
So we can start actually, now we can see. You can't see the results because you didn't make those. I love that mindset because at the end of the day, excuse me, because at the end of the day, even if I fail, I have the blueprint still. Matter of fact, now I have furthermore of the blueprint because I did my lessons learned. I did my AAR. I see. I can tell when the wheels are spinning.
Just a little bit. Just a little bit. I think to your point. So I'm agreeing with that. You'll hear people that start some things and they'll do a number of different things, and their response is, "Well, that didn't work for me." And you've heard them. I'm sure everybody's heard them. Everybody's heard somebody say that didn't work for me. Did you try the Dick Gregory diet? That didn't work for me. But I don't necessarily believe that is an accurate statement. I don't think that it didn't work for them. I think they didn't work for it. I think starting these different things is not a problem. It shouldn't be a problem. But the question is, what did you learn about yourself in the starting and relinquishing of the thing? Did you learn something different about yourself? How did that thing that you learned about yourself carry you over into the next thing? And did you apply those lessons learned at that next level? Or were you the exact same person in all 12 of those different companies that you, oh, no wonder they all failed. I get it. It makes sense now. Yeah. If you tell me you ain't learned nothing, you just walked away from it because it wasn't a good fit for you, okay, sure. So I think that's the thing, right? First and foremost, were you teachable, coachable, and trainable? Because I think that's one of the biggest issues. We see it in the Bible. What is the thing you do? It is not wise. I will give you counsel, right? We see it all the time. People do things and they think they got all the answers. Let me tell you something. If I start talking to somebody and they tell me after something I say, I know, you got about 2 more times. I'm gonna give the first one is grace. The second one is measured grace. The third one is I'm done. There's no need for me to tell you anything if your response is, I know. The best response is to receive it. That's the best. Even if you knew the thing, there may have been something in the thing that I said that you didn't know. So the most arrogant thing that you can say to another person is trying to share some, especially if they're just giving it to you. Oh, I know. Okay, cool. So that's kind of like the point that I'm making. Like, I'm agreeing with all of these. I love the ambitious nature, but an ambitious person that isn't coachable, teachable, and trainable is just a dreamer with a hobby. That's all you are, is a dreamer with a hobby if you're not coachable, teachable, and trainable.
Right. I mean, so I might as well we're gonna do this in reverse. We're gonna skip the next question and probably go back to it because coach is already on the last question in this segment. So No. It's cool because I'm flowing because it's flowing, so I'm flowing with it. So um, that question falls under decisions forces alignment. My question is, what lessons? And you kind of already started there, so I just wanted to leave this there so you can keep going. What lessons do you learn about yourself based on the decisions that you make?
You learn who you are. That's first. That's first and foremost. Um, we, you and I, and a couple of people in the comment section, we had the privilege of attending this event. And this event within itself taught us a lot about ourselves. And that event is called basic training. You learned a lot about who you were in basic training. You learned a lot about your, other people in your platoon as well. But you learned a lot about yourself. You learned how much you could deal with. You learn how much you can handle with somebody yelling and, calling you everything but the child of God to your face, right? And saying some very ungodly things, by the way. I'm just, but this is, you got to realize the time frame. It ain't like that no more, y'all. I just want to put it out there. You learn a lot about yourself. I think when you make the right decision, and I want to kind of adjust it, just a little bit. What lessons do you learn about yourself based upon the right decisions that you make? When you make the right decisions, you learn how far you are away from righteousness. So now that gives me the thing that I need to know in real time. So this goes back to Robin's original definition of clarity, right? Because now I need to be able to assess my behavior in real time compared to what right decisions require of me. So now I have enough evidence to say, you know what? I ain't got it all together. I don't have it figured out. I need some help. I may need to call Gad up and say, hey man, I need your help, bro. I know you. I know you've done some things, and I know you're a man of God, and I need your help. I need you to talk me through this because right now I'm a little frustrated. I'm getting angry at myself because I'm trying to do this thing and I keep hitting this brick wall. Right? Get out of the habit of believing that you can do everything by yourself. That's another thing it's going to teach you. I can't stress this enough. The next level of your life is requiring you to talk to somebody. I'll say it again, to talk to somebody to reveal something to them that they can help you with. That if you do not do that, you will never get there. See, what we want to do is drag my duffel bag of baggage behind me, hiding it so nobody can see it, thinking that they're going to judge me for my baggage. Listen to what I'm about to say and hear what I'm about to say well. There's nobody on this panel, in this comment section, out there listening in the hallways, the byways, and the highways that is absent of baggage. Everybody got it. I don't care who you are. Hiding it because you're thinking something about yourself only puts you in a position to where you're constantly trying to put on a facade to be who you think people want you to be. See, these are all the ramifications of making the right decision. Okay. Wait till you get in a room where you know that a majority of the people in the room make 4, 5, 6 times more money than you make. The majority of people in the room have done what you're trying to do 10 times over. And you're in there trying to put on your, be the best version of yourself. Baby, that ain't the time for you to be the best version of yourself. That's the time to humble yourself, to be a sponge, to find somebody in that room that's willing to take you under their wing and say, let me coach you to where you need to get to. See, the right decision is going to require a thing of you that you don't want to give up. You can't bring that in here. You got to leave that at the door. So I'm real big on this question here because the answer that if you're not getting that as the answer when you answered that question in your mind, then you're not getting what the decision is requiring of you. The reason why decisions are what they are is because that's the most high's way of getting you to move from where you are to where he's trying to get you to go. See, I say it all the time. Every situation that you find yourself in is requiring you to learn a spiritual lesson. that if you do not learn that spiritual lesson at that level, don't be surprised. Don't worry. It'll be back. It'll be back. Just give time. I promise it'll be back. It may look different, but it's the exact same lesson because you have to get the lesson so that you can move forward. If not, then you're just going to find complacency where you are because that lesson ain't going nowhere.
Ooh, you right there. You right there. So, and I promise you, it just worked out the way for me to just flip these questions around because the way you're answering them is falling in line. And while the preach is hot, while you preaching, I'm gonna keep firing. Because sometimes you can add too many ingredients to the pot, and I think you serving this stew up very well, chef. You know what I mean, coach. You know, so then I have to go back to the question: is there a remedy for fear?
I mean, if you want me to give you the Bible answer, yes, there is. Love. I mean, it's a Bible answer. Now, what does that really mean? That really means going back to my original answer from the beginning. I don't fear the thing that I don't see. I'll say it again. I don't fear the thing that I don't see. Remember Robin's definition of clarity. That's why I say her definition wasn't wrong. I just wanted to expound on it. The original definition of clarity was her saying that you have to be able to discern. That's the term I'm going to use. To be able to discern what you see in real time. In other words, you need to be able to understand. You need to see and understand reality. Well, if I'm focused on the things of the world, then those things have the potential to create fear in me. But if I keep my eyes fixed on the vision that he gave me, keep my eyes fixed on him, if he hasn't given me a vision yet, keep my eyes fixed on him, then I can't see the things of the world. The Bible says that he is love. So if my eyes is fixed on love, then there is no fear in perfect love because I am more focused on him. I'm more focused on his ways, his character. And I'm trying to get in alignment with that so that I can be the best representative, so I can be the best representative of that here and now on this earth. It's not to say that it doesn't happen, because I don't necessarily believe wholeheartedly that fear is a problem. I think the problem becomes when fear sets in and you do nothing with it. The difference between fear and the spirit of fear is that when I fabricate it in my mind before I even see a thing, right? Or I see the thing and therefore the thing that I see creates fear. Two different things. If I create it in my mind, it's the spirit. And if I see it and now I'm concluding based upon what it can do, because I know what it can do, that's different. That's fear. Fear isn't the problem. It is the paralysis that fear creates. So I can still feel a particular type of way, but if I keep my mind and my eyes fixed on him and keep moving in the direction I'm supposed to go, then that by itself would be the remedy that I need in that time. Oh yeah, by the way, it builds confidence and it also strengthens my understanding of faith. So when I look at this notion of fear, looking for the remedy is to stop listening and looking at those things that are purposely there to incite fear.
I'm right there. I'm right there. And so an exact remedy for fear outside of love, I think to me, the remedy of fear is action. I remember boxing. I remember the first time you get ready to get in the ring and you know it's a real fight. And the person across from you, sizing them up. I don't care how big they are, they look big when they're in that ring. You know what I mean? Especially when y'all start stepping towards each other. They get real big real quick. All right. The nerves calm down every time when the first punch is thrown. regardless of who throws it. Right? They threw it. I feel like now I can start to estimate their power. They're not going to hurt me. I'm not afraid of, you know, as long, but why? Because I've been trained right. I'm not going to allow them to get a clean hit. I'm not going to allow them, you know, I'm going to pay attention. You know, there's a lot of things that entails into knowing that you can have a good fight, into gaining confidence. But it's always that nerves, and so I think that, like, what that does, that keeps you hyper vigilant in the sense of, I'm remembering the things that the information that I gathered up until this point. I'm remembering the tools that I've gained, that I put in my sack. I'm remembering the lessons learned along the way, so that now I can ensure when I go up against this opponent and I start seeing the things that I prepared to see, I know what to do. See, but I think I don't think half the problem is just take that first step, make the decision, step out there. We fall into You're going to continue to fall into that cycle over and over and over again until you get in the ring and you throw that first punch, and you understand the power that you're dealing with. You understanding the blows that you're going. Okay, I can take these blows. They're not that hard. They're life changing, but they're not life ending. I'm gonna keep on walking. I'm gonna keep on trucking. I can get back up and fight for another day. You know, so I'm in there. But while we are talking about fear, right, and then we're talking about faith, fear versus faith. Um, our third talking point is, does God honor knowledge over action? Right?
Well, let's back up.
Okay, let's back up. My bad.
No. Leave the question there. Let's back up
Mhm.
for a second, because I don't think what you said was outside. It was actually in alignment with, right? There has to be an action that I do. That's why I say keep my eyes fixed there and then move in that direction. There has to be an action. That's kind of like what faith is. Now, faith is the substance of things hoped for, the evidence of things not seen. So the evidence of things not seen requires the activity that I need to do until the thing shows up. But even in the midst of me not seeing the thing, I am doing the thing, believing that it's coming to pass anyway. So, does God honor knowledge? Yes. Does God honor action? Yes. Does it have to be over? I'm just, does one have to be greater than the other? I think there are periods of time where there is one that will be greater. Then there's another period of time where another will be greater. Because here's the deal. There's a lot that I don't know. I say it again. There's a lot that I don't know. I'm going to say it one more time. It's a lot that I don't know. And why do I say that? Because the more that I know, the more it reveals to me how much I don't know. So if knowledge over action is the thing, then I will never action the thing in the direction of what I don't know. Therefore, there is a requirement for me to do a thing minus the necessary knowledge that I need to do the thing. Wait, now faith is the substance of things hoped for. Hope for. Wait, okay. So if I'm hoping for a thing, that means I don't have the full knowledge of the thing that I'm hoping for. But I know it exists. I know it's there. I'm hoping for that. But I'm still doing the thing in the direction of that which I hope for. So I don't have 100% knowledge of the Most High, but that which I do know is enough to move me in his direction without wavering, now, it's not perfect, right? That's part of my imperfection. Part of my imperfection is that I don't have a complete understanding of who he is. Because if I had a complete understanding of who he is, I would have a better understanding of who I am. So part of my ignorance of my identity is my ignorance of his. Okay. I'm just saying. So the less of him I know, the less of me I know, and the gap in between what I don't know creates the indecisiveness that exists. So does he honor knowledge? Yes. Does he honor action? Yes. Does he honor one over the other? I would say yes and yes. I think he honors knowledge over action when action isn't feasible to be done based upon that in which you have knowledge of. I have knowledge of the Son, but my actions will never equate to the efficiency of his actions. So the comparison between the actions of the Son and there is no comparison. That's why we're not compared. That's why the Bible said I must be in him, because his actions now overshadows okay. So my knowledge of him is adequate enough for the inadequacies of me to be overshadowed by him. Okay. Are there times where action over knowledge? Yes, because I don't need to know everything to do anything. I just need to do it and trust and believe that I will have a better understanding en route. And this is why you hear the Bible says, now I know, which means he didn't know prior to, but now he is confident in that he knows.
I love it. I love it. It's actually the point to me of this segment starting off with this question for that reason, because there's a time to gain knowledge. Scripture is very clear about knowledge. There is a time to gain. Ecclesiastes tells us there's a time and a season for everything. For everything, there's a season. And to everything a time, right? So, learning and gaining knowledge, there's a time. But what do we do with that knowledge? Even if that action is that we take that knowledge and we teach it to people who are going to actually put it into action, that's still an action. I don't look at it as he honors one over the other. It's one of those things that they have to marry. And so with that, I feel the same way when we talk about fear and faith, and then we talk about faith and then works, right? Because that's really what we talk about when we say in actions, right? Okay. So my question is, how did, looking at Abraham, and I'm just going through some examples, just pulling them out, since we're talking to the preacher man tonight, if y'all heard it already, I feel like he's supposed to have one of them towels over there wiping his mouth as he speaks. But how did Abraham partner faith and works together when we start looking at, and it's for those in the comment, he already ready to answer if y'all can't tell. But think about Abraham, leave your father's house, pack up and move. Don't take nobody. Now, granted, he took his nephew because his brother was gone, right? He took his nephew and his family. Then he traveled and sojourned and continued to move, and then even got to a point to where him and his nephew couldn't live together, and he still made a decision. He turned around and said, "Hey, you go over there, and I'm gonna take this right here." He gave him the plane, and he stayed right there, right? Then, and we know the story. I can keep going, but he became known. We call him the father of faith, but there is a lot of action that has taken place in his process of becoming father of faith. So for many out there who are arguing this concept that, faith only exists if there's no works involved, and that works exists without faith, like we have this mindset that one exists without the other. So how did Abraham marry faith and works together?
For anybody who believes what you just said, shame on you. There has to be, like, the person who believes that is probably the person that comes around but do nothing while they're present. Like, you gotta let that set in. See, I love where you went with Abraham, you know, where the Most High told him to leave his father's house and go to a place in which I'll show you. But that's not the one I want to talk about. I want to talk about the one where they believed the Most High for a child. They received the child, and the Most High told him to take that child and sacrifice him, knowing in his mind what he was getting ready to do. This is the promise. This young boy is what I have been believing him for years, well beyond our childbearing years, so far beyond that my wife laughed when she overheard the conversation I was having with him. And I got to take this young lad, help him carry some of the stuff, because it's a lot of stuff to carry. He got to carry some of it too now. He don't know with 100% certainty. He just know we're going to sacrifice to the Lord. And he, at some point in time, becomes inquisitive. Well, where's the sacrifice at? Pop? Where's the sacrifice at? The Lord will provide. You got to yeah.
Hold on, real quick, and I'm gonna shut up and let you get back to work. But you telling me that they understood how to sacrifice and what sacrifice to the Lord looked like before they got a law?
Not only they did, the lad did. That was the point I want to make. The lad knew what the sacrifice was. So he was asking, where's that? Well, the Lord will provide. Imagine being in that position. Imagine that's you and your one and only child, the child that you've been trying to have for years and years and years. And finally, the breakthrough happens. And then the Most High says, you know what? I need you to sacrifice that little booger. So now you're being obedient and you're en route to do the thing. You can imagine all of the thoughts that are going through his head at any given point. Look, if you're a parent of any sort, man, woman, it doesn't really matter. Just imagine you're not having the most wholesome thoughts in this trek. You're trying to manage those thoughts. You're trying to push out bad thoughts. I can't believe he want me to offer up my own child. No. I trust in him. He will provide. And then at some point in time, he goes as far as binding the child up after building the altar, by the way, putting him on it. And then he gets ready to strike the child. And then the angel say, hey, don't do it. Don't you put a hand on that child. Look over there. So you cannot tell me that you can have faith, that you are a person of faith, that you are a believer, you are a child of the Most High because you receive the gift of salvation, the gift of God, which is salvation through Christ Jesus. You can't tell me that that's your identity because you were born again, by the way. That's your new identity, but there is nothing that you do to display that. Those two things, they don't lie. They're not congruent with one another. They're not consistent with the existence. For this thing that you're believing, this faith that there has to be an action that goes along with it. This right here, that ain't it. They got little, I don't mean no harm. They got little toys in the store to do that. Come on, y'all know it. A lot of that stuff is practiced and rehearsed. That's why you practice, so you get it right. See, y'all know that amateurs practice until they can get it right. Professionals practice until they can't get it wrong. And we're supposed to be okay. When we really understand this life that we're living, we are professing. Come on now. We are professing, right, to such a degree that we don't get it wrong when we start talking about his goodness. It's not just the talk, it's the walk, it's the deeds, it's the service, it's everything. All of it is worship, not just this. That's what we think. We think I do this on Sunday morning. Yeah, we shut the house down and go home and cuss your house down. Come on, man. Those two things aren't consistent. All of it is worship. The whole duty of man, right? We got to keep in mind, keep his commandments and worship. everything that you do is worship, not just the hand clapping and the singing. Some of us can't sing. So does that make us does that make us inadequate? Because no, because everything is worship. But we put more weight on certain things, and those things is not the totality of reality. My bad, I got a little long-winded, brother. I love that question.
Nah, man, you in it. I'm enjoying it, bro. I'm enjoying it. I'm just at this point, I'm doing what I do best on my smoker, right? I keep the temperature hot. Sometimes you ain't got to touch the meat. Sometimes it's working, and all you got to do is just make sure that the wood is not smothering the fire.
You say let them cook.
Let them cook.
I got you.
Hey, but no, where you at with it is exactly where I'm at with it, right? We've been in sync this whole episode to me. On this topic right here, when we start looking at faith and fear, he the only thing that I could really add on top of what you said was here's the core thing that Abraham showed you, right? Because if I read Paul talks in Galatians, he talks about it starts to sound like he's telling the people that Abraham operated in faith, therefore no works is needed, because he says, as our father Abraham, his faith was accounted for righteousness. But then when we get over here to John starts talking about, didn't he show us his faith by his words, right? And so now, James, my bad. Yes, I was getting into.
I know what you meant. I got you. And trust me, he done said it several times, so that's how I know.
Right. But James definitely shows us that other side. So now someone started asking me, well, which one is wrong? Well, neither one is wrong. The person that is wrong is the one who thought that it was one-sided.
Bingo.
The one who thought that I can faith without works. And the one who thought that I could works without faith. No, if you're doing works without faith, you lifting yourself up. That you're idolatry, right? Because now what you're doing, you're trying to be seen. We know those people. I don't need to call out no names. How dare I get on here and call out another man's name and start screaming Joel Osteen or Creflo? Anyway.
Oh my.
But I mean, anyway, I digress.
But here's the thing. And okay. And I know I apologize, y'all. I know what time it is. But here's the thing. If you don't know that our background is being in the military, then you may hear some of the things that we say like, "Mo, they're so rough. They're just, rah in your face." Well, if you don't know who the apostle was called to, then you don't understand what he was fighting. How you gonna take the people who were excluded before and help them to understand that they were included now? So when you read it and you're looking at it through that lens, it's like, oh, these people who were the outcasts, I'm just gonna call them barbarians for the sake of conversation, who were the barbarians who was in the wilderness all before, he is teaching them to have the belief system to be in the fold now. To where you see it from somebody else, you're like, hold on, wait a minute now. I know y'all seen that and y'all believe that that's what he is saying. That's not what he is saying.
Hey, brother, I just thought about this in my head just now. I'm gonna go to James, right? And on Blue Letter Bible, and I'm gonna read James.
You start at
one and one.
I knew you were gonna go to 1 and 1. Go ahead. I love it.
Just to prove your point.
I'm glad you're right, though. You're right. Absolutely.
James, a servant of God and of the Lord Jesus Christ, to the 12 tribes which are scattered abroad. He's talking to those who were given the law. He's talking to those who understand. Now, understand, Paul is talking as well in Galatians. He says, "I'm speaking to those who are knowledgeable of the law." So he's not talking to people who don't know either. But like you said, the fight is different. I love when Paul he's talking to the Colossians, I believe it's Colossians 2. I could be wrong, but I believe it's Colossians 2. And he tells them, he said, listen, and to me, this is the most not misquoted, but misinterpreted scripture. He says, let no man despise you for your Sabbath, your new moon, or for your holy days. And so often people use that in an argument to me because I don't keep the feast days, the Christmas and Easter and all that. I don't keep those days, But that's a whole nother conversation outside of this, right? But what Paul is telling these people, like to your point, like, hey, I know that this is where you saw yourself, but even when we're talking to the times he's speaking to the Israelites scattered abroad, he's understanding that they were called Gentiles as well, because they did not live in the land, and they lived amongst the pagans. They lived amongst the Gentiles, so they were called that as well. Digressing, as you come into the fold, Paul is saying, hey, listen, I know that you're not looked at as a part of these people, but don't let no one despise you from keeping the Sabbath, from keeping the new moon, from keeping the feast days, right? These are the three things that the Israelites kept, that those who were not in Israel, in the land, a lot of them were persecuted, a lot of them were despised, a lot of them weren't allowed, not even by the Jews that were in Jerusalem. They didn't even allow them to keep these feast days in peace because you're a heathen, you're this. And so I'm just showing you, I'm just pulling up scripture to prove the point that was just made, because that point was a really good point. I really don't want it to. I know time getting away from it. My bad. Go ahead, bro.
No, you're good. You're good. I mean, it's just one of those things. Like, if we don't, I don't want to get into the different ways to study it, but there are different ways to study it. There's some prerequisite knowledge that we need. And without that prerequisite knowledge, you tend to, in your mind, make up the stuff that you're reading and think that the stuff that you're reading is right. But you're reading it through the wrong lens. You have to know, like, the prerequisite information that's needed in order to have a better understanding, while allowing the Spirit to give you the complete understanding that he wants you to have at that time of reading. That's why you can't go into the scriptures full of yourself. You go into the scripture full of yourself, you just shut off the communication with you and the Holy Spirit. So you'll only come out of it with what you got and what you want. That's it. But I'm
man, and one day we're gonna have to have a conversation from that point right there. Man, listen, I know we see the clock. We know. Thank y'all for hanging in, because y'all know me and Coach, especially when the conversation begins to turn down a direction we really love to talk about. We can have this conversation we could do a whole nother hour, but as respecters of your time, we definitely appreciate everyone for coming out. Listen, we're gonna get into this bittersweet moment, our final thoughts, and then we're gonna keep on trucking. Listen, it's simple. We already in there, right? Faith without works is dead. Faith without works is dead. I love how that reads, right? Because though it seems as if it has life, it really doesn't, right? When the Most High said to Adam, he says, "For the day that you eat of the fruit thereof, you shall surely die." And the enemy told his wife, he said, "Hey, listen, you won't surely die." He knows that the day that you eat thereof, your eyes shall be open and you shall be like gods. Well, the fact that you tried to become like gods and you got in the way of God is that place of death. So though it looks like there's life, but there's actually death in the midst, right? Faith without works. You have a thing, you have a plan, you have a goal, you have the blueprint, and you say that you got the faith. Well, if you had the faith, it has to be married with action. You have to put something behind it. That is true when it comes to obedience to the Most High, but that is true when it comes to your plans, when it comes to your goals. Right? We gathered the information. Now let's make it actionable. Let's take that first step. Let's increase. Let's get better. I think our next season is awaiting us, but is waiting for us to make a decision to step forward and walk into it. Um, that is my final thoughts for the evening.
I love this conversation. Thank you guys for hanging in there with us. This conversation is about clarity. And what I liked about this conversation is it literally took us on a journey. It took us on a journey of having a better understanding of what clarity is and then what it looks like in our life. And hopefully you caught where in certain areas of our life, in certain aspects of our being, we are responsible for the confusion that we exist in. Make no mistake about it. All of the instructions are there. He gave us all the blueprints. He gave us the way, his way. And we keep trying to do it our way. And unfortunately, you're not going to be blessed in your way. You have to be blessed in Yah's way. That's the only way. And so we get to the point we'll start turning, we'll take what is supposed to be righteous and make it unrighteous and think that we're different than the Old Testament Israelites. No, you're not. You're not. It's a reason why they were referred to the way that they were referred to. We have to get to the point that we fix our mind on him, be crystal clear on those things, move forward with clarity according to our understanding of his will. If you mess it up, so what? That's fine. That's a lesson for you to learn in that moment. Go get the lesson. Don't be afraid to make a mistake. Don't be afraid to do a thing you believed was right, and then you learn it's wrong at a later point in time. That's okay. Make the adjustment. It's all right. You got to realize. I know a lot of times people like to talk about sin, and I don't think we view sin as the thing. It's like having an arrow being drawn back and firing the arrow, and you're going towards the target, and you're going and you fall short. The Bible says all have fallen short of the glory of God. That's the key. But don't stop being fired in the right direction. Your parents did the initial firing, right? But who do you think is doing the firing now? So if you do it there, recognize that, yeah, I've fallen short, but you know what? Now I have more grace. And that grace is now in him. So now you should be on target. You're not going to hit the target until you go home, but you're still in pursuit of the target. So those decisions that you're making in life right now should be clear-cut, definitive, easy, without deviation or correction. Simple. Does it line up with the thing that you're called to do? Yes, decision made. If not, decision made. It's that simple. But what we don't want to do is we don't want to make a decision and it ends up being wrong. Who cares? If you believe it's right, make that decision and then learn from the mistake if it's wrong. That's okay. That's one of the reasons why next Saturday is going to happen. Because we're around here treating ministry like it's multi-level marketing. We're out here trying to recruit people to go to church. Oh, well, you got to come on, you got to come on, you got to come on. Well, let me ask you a question. How much transformation you ever seen happen in your church? Be real. Let's be honest. Like, we got to be honest with ourselves. How much transformation are we really seeing right now? If we're not seeing no transformation, we got to go back to him. Because it's his thing. You were just given the responsibility to take care of it. Just like we talked about just now with Abraham and Isaac. I'm sorry, yeah, Abraham and Isaac. Abraham was given the responsibility to take care of Isaac, but Isaac belonged to the Lord, period, point blank. So does every last one of your children. You were given the responsibility to take care of them, but they belong to him. Give them back. Especially if they're adults, give them back. You're still trying to take them as your adolescent, give them back. They belong to him. Stop trying to hold on to that, okay. Listen, I got a little long with it again. I do apologize, but this is serious business. Clarity is serious business. If you're not crystal clear about who you're called to be, if you're not crystal clear about his will, right? Romans 12:2. Be not conformed to this world, but be ye transformed by the renewing of your mind, so that you may prove that good and that perfect will of God. If you don't know what his will is, then how can you prove it? That's the key. So listen, greatly appreciate you guys here. Thank you for all of your comments, all of your questions and thoughts and things of that nature. Thank you, Michelle, Robin, and Nick D, for your contribution to the community. We greatly appreciate you. Thank you for everybody who stayed a little long with us. And I know we got long-winded, but we hope that we served you well. Brother man, you got anything else you want to share with the people?
Listen. If y'all tuned in tonight, man, Coach gave y'all one tonight, boy. He gave y'all one tonight. I know y'all usually love the conversation and the back and forth when it's the two of us, but tonight I understood the assignment, right? When I realized, well, I'm a Knicks fan, right? Go Knicks. You know, it's a point of the game when the Knicks is playing and you're like, oh Lord, here we go. But they know, hey, we need to get the ball in Jalen Brunson's hand because he on one tonight. And when he on one, you just got to get out the way, clear the runway, let him take off. That's my Jalen Brunson tonight. You know what I mean? So I just I had to feed him the ball, set a pick, and get out the way. You know. So I just wanted to shout that out. We appreciate
one last thing. I was being disobedient. Thank you for that. If you have not gotten your ticket for next Saturday, get your ticket. I'm telling you, I think you guys are being for a treat, and you'll appreciate that. So get your ticket. If you haven't scanned the QR code that was up there for the webinar, you're not called to grow your ministry. Get your ticket. There it is. Get your ticket. I'm telling you, I think it's going to be good. I think we're going to have fun. So show up expecting to receive. That's all I got.
Amen. With that said, we love y'all. We appreciate y'all. Y'all have a great rest of y'all week, and continue to impact on your family, man, and your friends.